Hey everyone, I'm Jacob Castro and welcome to another video here on Jacob's Aquarium. So today in this plant guide we're going to be discussing a very popular, easy to grow foreground or mid-ground plant and one of my personal favorite plants as well. And it's called Anubias. Now as with every plant guide we'll be discussing its compatibility, color, growth habits, and most of all how to propagate it. So first in this video let's go ahead and discuss its growth habits. I've grown Anubias pretty much in every single planted tank that I have, and mostly because it's just so easy to grow. It doesn't require a lot of nutrients, it doesn't require good light, it doesn't even require planted tank substrate to grow in. It pretty much just requires a decent environment, pretty much, you know. It's not a really demanding plant, and you can pretty much get away with growing this plant simply in just either gravel substrate, or you can even just tie it to driftwood or other things in your tank and it'll still grow. And as long as it gets a little bit of light, it'll grow, it'll flourish. I would also say that, dosing nutrients would help, move it along as well. But pretty much you don't need to. You could solely rely on the waste produced by your fish to provide Anubias the amount of nutrients it needs to grow. So it's a very easy to grow plant. Now, of course, if you grow this plant in a tank that has CO2, high nutrients, that whether it's in the substrate or you dose it, once or twice a week into your actual tank. Good light, stuff like that. It'll grow a little bit faster, but for the most part, it is a slow grower. And I would say that it produces a new leaf or new growth on its rhizome. I would say once every week and a half in a really high-tech environment, and in a really low-tech environment, say just plain gravel and good light or something along those lines, it'll pretty much produce a new leaf once every 3 to 4 weeks. And now we move on to color. So pretty much Anubias plants will be light green to dark green in color. However, if they do become unhealthy, they will turn yellow. So that's one thing to watch out for. If you start to notice yellowing around the edges of your leaves or on the rhizome especially, that means the plant is unhealthy. But for the most part, if your Anubias is healthy, it'll either be light or dark green in color. It just depends on which species you grow. Now, compatibility is something that I'm really excited to talk about when it comes to growing Anubias, because Anubias plants are compatible with a wide variety of aquariums, and not just planted tanks, regular freshwater tanks with big fish that you would pretty much say you can't grow plants with those fish. Anubias plants are very, very hardy. They're very, very firm, strong plants. They're pretty much like, I like to call them the tanks of the plant world, like they're really, really hard to kill. They're really hard for big fish to destroy. So they're plants that are perfect for goldfish tanks, cichlid tanks, arowana tanks, Oscar tanks, catfish tanks, tanks that have big fish that we would pretty much deem not suitable for a planted tank. Anubias plants just grow great in those types of environments because they are pretty much impossible to tear apart. Fish really do have a hard time killing this plant or tearing it apart because it is just it's such a big plant. It's not fragile by any means. So it's very hard for a goldfish or a cichlid or any other fish to tear it apart. Now, of course, if you grow this plant with a barracuda that has sharp teeth, it's not going to last, so maybe, make sure that the cichlids you have don't really have, sharp teeth, or you don't grow this plant with puffers or anything, because puffers have beaks as well. So maybe that's one thing to consider, but for the most part, people grow Anubias plants with goldfish and other large fish that pretty much we would, not expect that you can grow plants with, so a great plant for a tank that has large fish for sure. And lastly, we move on to propagation. Now, to propagate Anubias, it's very, very easy. All you got to do is cut a section off of the original rhizome of your mother plant, or whatever you want to call it, and just replant it. One of the biggest mistakes that people make, though, is that they bury the rhizome into their substrate, and that's something you really don't want to do. Pretty much because it'll kill the plant. burying the rhizome into your substrate and not exposing it to light or anything, and putting it in a dark place like that, with no room to breathe, it'll just simply melt away. So make sure that when you are propagating this plant and you replant your little sections of Anubias, you only bury the roots, you don't bury the rhizome, because if you do, it'll just melt away. And not only will it melt away, but when you have to take it out, when you have to remove the dead sections or the dead Anubias plants, whatever, you'll notice that it'll smell really, really bad. I've had to do this, several times throughout my adventure in this hobby, and I have to say that Anubias plants are by far the worst smelling plants when they do melt away or when they do die. They just smell so horrible. So try to prevent that in any way you can, because trust me, you don't want to smell these plants when they die. It's pretty gross. So that's it for this plant guide. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to catch my live show that airs every Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on my YouTube channel. It's a lot of fun. I have guests on the show sometimes. We take calls over Skype, and there's a live chat room. It's just a blast, guys, and it's a great way for you to ask me questions and interact with me live. And the show's actually moving along pretty well. I'm trying to build up a list of guests that I'm going to have on the show on a regular basis, and I'm also working on hiring. I'm going to actually employ somebody. This is how big it's gotten, or I wouldn't say how big it's gotten, but how far it's moving along. I'm working on hiring a second host as well, so it won't just be me blabbering on about the hobby or answering questions. It'll be two people that are creating a dialogue, a discussion, and it'll make things a little bit more interesting. So the show's really moving along, and we also actually got our first sponsor as well, CGA320.com. They're a company that sell CO2 supplies for regulators and stuff like that. So the show's moving along really, really well, and I'm really excited to see what the future holds. And of course, thank you guys so much for supporting the show as long as you have. The first time I did it, I really didn't expect it to do anything. I thought it was just going to be something I do sporadically just to say hi to you guys, but it's turned into a regular thing now, and you guys really seem to like it. So thank you so much for watching, and look forward to the future, because I got a lot of really exciting stuff coming up. And of course, more awesome content, regular videos, here on Jacob's Aquarium. So thanks again for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. Have fun with your tanks, and I will see you next time.